Richard Tice had a very important message for the country this week. 2 Jewish men had been stabbed in Golders Green, and Tice was outside Westminster, live on GB News. Solemn face, measured tone, explaining that his thoughts were with the victims and their families, and the whole Jewish community. And then the camera stopped rolling. Now, just before I show you this, I do apologise, I have got it from Twitter, so the camera quality isn't that great. But it is too important not to show you.
They wish them ill, and as I say, our thoughts are with the victims and their families and the whole Jewish community.
Richard Tice, thank you. Richard Tice there, and I would like to apologise for the protester behind me holding up signs in what is a very, very difficult conversation to have about an attack in North London.
Now, as you can see, there's a man standing behind him in that interview. He's from Sodom, I think, and the protest group that spent years outside Parliament with signs and megaphones during the Brexit years. He's holding a placard that reads "Far Right for People," and it's an urban myth, an anti-far right sign. GB News presenter apologises for him on air, as though a man peacefully holding a placard in public space is something that requires an apology to the audience. He isn't breaking any laws. He's exercising exactly the kind of free speech that Richard Tice claims to hold sacred. You've heard the speeches: reform of the Party of Liberty, the true defenders of the ordinary person against the powerful, enemies of the establishment. All of that, you know how it goes. And the interview ends. And this is the bit that you don't see. The protester was actually wearing a body cam, and what it captures is Richard Tice, the man who just delivered that solemn statement about antisemitism, turning on this protester and calling him an antisemite, repeatedly, because he was holding a sign saying the far right aren't for the people.
Tice is fair game. We don't want fascists in this country. Far right taking over this country.
Vote reform. We don't want idiots like you, mate.
How am I an idiot? How am I an idiot?
We're talking about an antisemite attack in London.
Why are you doing that?
That's totally outrageous.
Do you?
Of course
What a revolting man you are.
Two
When we
people
talk
have
about
been stabbed
they
in
might
London.
die.
What are you doing?
Okay, this is the far right for you.
No, this is
attacking
not.
somebody.
This is anti-Semitism.
It's
you
not
are an anti-Semite.
This is just a typical. Of course I'm not. I've got
Public
many
place.
Jewish
You
friends.
are going to be arrested.
I'm not an anti-Semite.
You're harassing a member of Parliament.
Why did
Go away.
during
You are harassing
such
a member of Parliament.
discussion?
Away.
You knew what was being discussed.
Away.
You are fair game, tax dodger.
2 people have been killed. Have been
Dodgy Dubai Dicky. Tax dodger.
Think about the logic being applied here for a moment. Criticising the far right is anti-Semitism. That's the claim. From a senior figure in a party that spent 2 years cozying up to the European far-right movements, platforming figures whose political roots should make anyone uncomfortable, and fielding candidates whose social media's histories have caused repeated scandals. Richard Tice, has decided that man with this placard is the problem. The protester tells him he's not an anti-Semite, yet Tice keeps going. Then something happened. I'm guessing that Tice probably clocked that he was wearing a body cam because he's gone. Make for that what you will. Here's where it trips from embarrassing to something that's genuinely worse. The footage returns to GB News and the presenter on a licensed broadcaster speaking to an audience of hundreds of thousands. Well, maybe hundreds of thousands. It is GB News after all. They tell viewers that they have the protester's face on camera and then encourages them to use it to get him in trouble.
GB News is not acceptable. It's a propaganda channel funded by foreign billionaires.
I think it's
You are completely unacceptable.
There are 2 people coming. We've got to back off. We've been told.
Fine.
Go
I don't
away.
care.
You're harassing.
I'm not harassing anybody.
Away.
It was you who came and harassed me. I was just stood here with placards.
Can we get him away?
This is the kind of thing we have now in this country where people feel that they can just behave like that. But we do have his face on camera, and if that does anything, even if you were able to get him in trouble,
Those words, get him in trouble. Now, he's holding a placard in a public place. He's not doing anything illegal. And there's a word for that. It's called a pylon. The broadcaster is directing its audience to identify and target a private individual, and it followed, within about 90 seconds, Richard Tice finishing his heartfelt explanation of how seriously he takes people being targeted because of who they are. The protester's own words, caught on the body cam, it was you who came to me and harassed me. I was just stood here with placards. He was. That's exactly what he was doing, standing there with a sign, which is legal, which Reform say they support, which the presenter of GB News segment apparently felt required to apologise to its viewers before and then required to call an action against the person doing it. This is the gap between the camera on version of Reform and the camera off version. The camera on version is sombre, principled and deeply concerned about the things that matter. The camera off version shouts antisemite at people holding anti-fascist signs and then makes a run for it when they realise they're being filmed. And the only reason we know any of this is because somebody else was recording too.